Hi friends, in our time together today, I'm sharing one of my ornamentation and expression practice sessions of that great jig, Smash the Windows, also called Roaring Jelly. Those names, they still crack me up. I love it. Anyway, I introduced the tune a few days ago, and I'll stick a link at the top and at the end of this video to that original walkthrough video if you've not had a chance to see it. I'll also place a link at the top of the notes to this video to the page of my website from which you could download the music and tabs if you've not done that yet. And for today's walkthrough, I'll be using the Nightingale Low D by Karaveav and the standard High D by Carbony. And I'll put links in the notes to this video as to where you could pick up each of these really nice whistles. When I'm sharing a practice session, I'm often sharing, like, it's a snapshot in time of where I am. But remember, this is my ornamentation and expression practice session that I'm really trying to show and share where I am and what I'm doing with my playing of a tune. One of the things I think it's important for us to think about in learning a tune is the pace of a tune. I've looked at the pace of this tune. And I've got a metronome open here. I found an outlier of 94 beats per minute of somebody performing it just very, it was on a violin, very casually, and that would be this pace. Okay, and I have seen some groups playing, some recordings of groups and some professionals sitting around playing, and I have heard them play it up to somewhere between 136 and 142 beats per minute. And it's possible that if you get into a session that somebody might play it that fast, but, uh-oh. Whoa, that's pretty quick. Now, most of the time I've seen friends sitting around or a couple session recordings that just seem more relaxed. It's somewhere between 136 and 100, no, not, sorry, wrong one. It's somewhere between 100, it's in the mid 120s. So if I go like to 124 as a good example, still quick, but so it's not like something that you you couldn't do. And so I share the pace so that we know a target. So for me, initially, my target's going to be in the mid-20s. Once I feel really, 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 really happy in the mid-120s, I'll maybe ratchet it up to 130. Because sometimes if you can play a tune faster, well, then when you dial it back, it's going to feel so relaxed. It's just great. So with all that said, let's jump in. First, on the Nightingale Low D, I'm going to walk and talk through some of what I'm thinking on Smash the Windows. Great jig. So you've got a lot of, since it's a jig, it's primarily a lot of triplets, like so you're going to get a lot of just triplets. Now, there are some long short pairs as well. And you're going to get some of that. So since the long short pairs aren't dominant in a jig, I like to take the long short pairs and make them a little bouncier because after all it is a dance tune. A lot of people whom I've heard play this leave the triplet runs without tons of ornamentation, though they're having fun with them. So that might be something like it'd help if I could play it. So that I'm just giving a little extra air push. I normally say you need a constant stream of air, but sometimes to accentuate a tune, a note, or a phrase, just give it a little extra push, and that's what I'm doing on that long short. So. Sorry. So there, since the long shorts aren't like up down bouncy, I feel like that bit needs a little more ornamentation than a lot of the other bits because it's a more traditional up down, not bouncy up down, but gliding up and down. So you need to accentuate some of the notes there a little bit more. So decide, like on some of those, you'll notice I punched the opening, gave a more gentle slide from on the F sharp down to the D, because you don't always want to hit the peaks and the valleys. It's sometimes really good to do something in the middle. And then you get another little bouncy bit before the tune turns to just a whole sequence of triplets where if you're going too fast, you're going to run out of air. So you get the so there, you could punch, so you got three long shorts, bouncy. So you could do a couple of different things. Some people just turn them into triplets. And I don't know, that's too much of a muchness for me. I like to change it up a bit. So for me, I want to turn that to, maybe add one triplet in the middle. And originally I thought of taking that last long short bounce and making it a triplet. But then that's right abutted to the other triplets. That's why I like adding that little triplet in the middle. Some of that stuff. That's what I'm currently thinking. And I don't, I like to do my ornamentation and expression practice sessions, just a couple of days after I introduce a tune. And I don't think, I don't feel like I'm really far enough along as to where I want to be with my ornamentation and expression practice. An interesting distinction between ornamentation and expression. So I start the tune. So it's a couple of ornaments there. Expression is when I get to that and I give an extra push of air to accentuate a note. It's not officially an ornament. It's like a more highlight a tune, highlight something, expression thing. So, like if you're gonna fade, that's an expression. If you're gonna cut, that's an ornament. If you're gonna do a crayon or a roll, tap, vibrato, slide, those are ornaments. If you're gonna fade, if you're gonna increase volume, if you're gonna change pace, those are expression pieces. All right, I've got the Carbony now, and I'm gonna see how I do. I'm gonna try it out, and if I make it all the way through, that's awesome. But I'm really to the point where I'm still working on this. But I love to share my reality because I'm learning as you're learning, and I'm sharing what I'm thinking. And I personally believe that it is more important for you to experience from me than me spending the next week really learning this and then sharing my best effort. I think my reality shared with you helps you deal with your reality and realize that it takes a while to learn this stuff. So on the Carbony. All right. Right. And when I reach that point, I go, ah! And I say, oh well, let's try that again. Yay! That's better. And now a couple of things I realized in there. I'm still working on my ornamentation, so I dialed it back just a hair so that I could play the tune so I didn't feel like I was just crashing into a brick wall. Now, another really important thing is in that last bit, how are you going to breathe in there? Because you're just doing, especially if you're doing it at a faster pace. That was not faster. If you're moving it at a lot faster pace, where are you going to breathe? You got to think about that. Are you going to leave a note out and take a big breath? Are you going to turn? Are you going to turn one of the triplets into a long short and take a breath, catch a breath in the middle? Switching between whistles, sometimes I mess up on breath pressure. So sorry about my bad tone. It's not the whistle. It's me not taking the time to recalibrate my own breath pressure. So see, that's another way you could do that, to turn a triplet into a long short to get a breath. It's a fun tune, my friends. I hope you enjoy it. Dive in. You might be where I am. You might be, working it out, still getting the core of the tune down. You might be miles ahead of me. That is okay. Celebrate where you are, work on where you are, and until next time, this is Scott Shade. Happy whistling, my friends.